Hi, I'm Mike Pender, President of the Florida Institute of CPAs, and I'm here today with Casey Fletcher, Vice President of Finance for Pallet One, a multi-state pallet manufacturer based in Bartow, Florida. We're going to speak about his career and his role as a CPA in industry. Tell me, Casey, tell me about your current role and about the journey you've taken into this position.
Thank you, Mike. My current role with the company is that of Vice President of Finance, as you said, and that entails in a closely held business or privately held business quite a range of activities, treasury activities dealing with bankers and lenders, of course all the financial statement, accounting preparation, information technology, tax preparation and compliance, as well as helping in the business planning and actually operating the business and helping it grow and in these times survive might be a good word. I've been with the company about 28 years. Started out after getting my accounting degree working for one of the big 8 accounting firms, auditing firms, back when there were 8. Had a couple years after leaving there where I was with another private company, and also had a public practice for just a brief period of time, and joined the pallet industry in 1983, starting as a controller, and then we have quite an interesting journey from during those years that you wouldn't predict for a privately held business that's in a very small town like Bartow. First, we participated in a public offering and a consolidation of the industry back in the late 90s. That public company was ultimately bought by a larger company in Europe, and took that company public in the 2001, and then lo and behold, a group of the former owners wound up buying a great deal of the number of the plants back and taking the company private again. So a short version of about 28 years is that we've all had some very exciting times in both public and private life, but still sit at the same desk that we did 25 to 30 years ago.
Do you think it was important, your experience in the public practice with the national firm?
Oh, absolutely. I was with the public accounting firm for about 3 years. That's where we learned our technical discipline and our good work habits. It gives a tremendous opportunity for a young person to be able to see a variety of different businesses and what's important about each and what's common to all each. So that was an invaluable experience for me. And then the brief time when I had my own practice was a great learning experience, because in effect you're an entrepreneur when you're doing that, and there's no way to delegate anything upstairs, and there's no partners to discuss. You've got to cover payroll by yourself, and that's a very, very valuable experience.
You're still a bit of an entrepreneur in this business, though, too.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Casey, what are some of the biggest challenges you currently face and expect to face in the future?
Mike, at the risk of being obvious, the biggest challenge that our business experiences now is just dealing with how the world has changed over the last 18 to 24 months in the financial markets and the general economy. The first rule of business is always don't run out of cash, and the second rule of business is refer to rule number 1. And with the business decline that's occurred over the last 2 years and the uncertainty that's out there, front and center on every CFO's list is the banking relationships and the treasury relationships to make sure that the business is financially viable, and able to deal with whatever the world brings to them. In our particular case, we try to evaluate what the economy may look like, and you hear all kinds of, well, is it a W or is it a U-shaped or a V-shaped economy, and our greatest challenge is based on the principle that it's probably an L-shape, that we may be in for a long time of just going sideways, just in the general economy and in our business. And that requires a different kind of business plan and a different kind of thinking than in past recessions that we've lived through, or past challenges, whether it was getting better or declining. So that planning for a new normal is probably the biggest challenge for us out there. And then just the uncertainty in the political arena, and also the uncertainty of the global economy, how that works. We're a small business based out of a small town, but we're affected by things that happened in South America and the lumber markets there. We're affected by things that happen in Korea, for example. So there's a big challenge of the biggest challenges, or two challenges there. One is just dealing with the economy, and then secondly, just being aware of how so many things that go on in the world affect us that at first glance we wouldn't expect them to.
Casey, what do you feel is the most important lesson you've learned in your career?
Well, Mike, I referred earlier to my role as in dealing with bankers and lenders and financiers of the business, and then also to the need to plan cash flow and look ahead. And one of the most important lessons that I've learned through my experience on the different companies that I've worked with, public companies, is just dealing with bankers. And an important lesson that I learned was that when I need to go borrow money or raise money, whether it's borrowing or whether it's in the equity markets, to develop thoroughly relationships with people before I need the money. If I need to go to a bank and request a line of credit or a revolver or a mortgage, I've waited too late if I do that when I need the money. There needs to be a very long process of working with those kinds of institutions so they have an opportunity to learn our industry, to learn our company, to get to know management, so that by the time there is a need or an opportunity for a business transaction, that everyone feels comfortable with each other, and then we can just talk about business in numbers and terms, and not have to build such a tremendous learning curve in just a short time. So meet your banker before you need money.
Casey, what do you feel was your greatest professional accomplishment?
Well, Mike, there's a couple of very interesting experiences that I had when we were a public company. One was to go through participate in two public offerings. Now, I can't assert that I accomplished those, but I was near the scene of all the activities, and included in that process was also a very large public debt offering. And that offering, as well as one of the public offerings, were conducted in both the U.S. and Europe. And those were very valuable experiences, and I felt good about participating in those. I don't know that experience will ever benefit me in the future without any intentions to go public. And then secondly, given what's happened in the markets and in the economy in the last 24 months, I feel it's quite an accomplishment, as do all of our partners, that we're still standing. I mean, it's been real easy in the last 2 years for a business to fail. And our current organization is less than 10 years old, and most businesses fail within 3 to 5 years, and then you throw on what's happened in the last 24 months. So it's a great accomplishment just to be, quite frankly, just to be sitting here employed.
Have you, I know you're in multi-states, have you had to downsize some in your operations in this economy?
Oh, absolutely. we have 17 plants in 11 states, and we had to react very quickly to downsizing or right-sizing. That took the form of eliminating shifts, reducing hours, eliminating the employer match on the 401k. A lot of very hard choices. Reducing compensation packages for probably the top 10% people. Took substantial adjustments. We were not bashful about adjusting to the new environment, and we did what we have to do to, as I said, to remain standing through the process. A lot of tough decisions to make, and we're a good ways away from being able to undo them again, just based on what the environment is. It's not a fun process. We did shut. Shut is not the right word. We mothballed one plant for about 6 months and moved its businesses to surrounding plants, and here lately we've been able to shift some of it back and be able to crank back up. We're running. We still are running well under capacity based on our current investment in the business.
With the decline in manufacturing a little bit in our country, has that made a decline in the need for the pellets, or is there still a great need for the pellets?
Well, the demand for our product is ratcheted down with the demand of everything else, and that presents a lot of challenges. The obvious ones is that when there's less demand, you have less need for facilities and equipment, and it affects employees dramatically, which we take very seriously. But it takes a while for the supply of any product to ratchet down to meet demand, and demand can ratchet down, and then supply will catch up with it, and demand will ratchet down and catch up with it, and the whole cycle is trying to find that that balance that works, and it changes. In our industry, it can change weekly or monthly based on lumber cost. And a great challenge we'll have is that as just the natural economy is trying to find its balance, and we can have a significant event like winter that happens every year, but it affects logging conditions, and all of a sudden logging in the lumber supply can drop dramatically because it has having nothing to do with the economy. Well, that affects pricing, it affects customers, it affects your ability to produce the product. Even the earthquake in Chile had an effect on our business.
Casey, what message would you give accounting students or young CPAs that are considering a career in industry?
Mike, I've thought a lot about that question, and I think the admonition or advice I would give to the young people is to think about that what the items or the characteristics and abilities that will make them successful in business, just generally, or in industry, maybe even in an accounting firm, are not limited to the technical skills that they're going to develop in school and or even develop on the job. And what I'm referring to is the ability to work with people and to lead and manage, to plan. Those not necessarily going to be learned in school or even on the job, even if there's good training programs. I would assert that those skills are developed by being active on things outside your vocation. And for example, to develop leadership skills and practice leadership skills, I think the best way to learn those is by participating in civic or religious or community activities. And I would suggest, for example, if you want to develop leadership abilities, try to be a youth sports coach, or serve on a church board, or some kind of civic service club board, where to accomplish things, people need to be able to lead and convince and persuade and convince by example. That's that's where we learn and develop our skills, I think, is off the job, and those will help develop those characteristics and attributes that every business person needs to be successful in running their organization. In an organization, in our organization, I can suggest that someone does something, and hopefully they will go and do it just by nature of the bureaucracy or the chain of command. It's quite a different thing to be sitting, for example, on a church board or a charitable board or something like that, and tell a volunteer, okay, I want you to take care of this. It doesn't work because there's not that chain of command. So I would advise all the young people to broaden the types of activities that they're involved in, because that's where they're going to learn the leadership and the management skills and the people skills that are going to help them be successful in business.
Do you think that your initial work in the public practice area was an asset to you as you've gone on with your career here in industry?
You mean public accounting?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Now, I was with one of the Big Eight for 3 years, but anyone that has followed that career path knows that's an intense year. I like to joke around. I worked 5 years in those 3 years. Did work a lot, but I learned a lot because I was on a lot of different assignments, both audit and tax, saw a lot of different businesses, and there is a good opportunity of learning in that process too, because you have to be a quick study on what's important about a business, and you go into a client situation, you got to learn the people very quickly, learn how to communicate with them, and one communication style does not work for every group of people. So very helpful. I wouldn't have passed that up. That was a good learning experience for me and helped establish a foundation.
Thanks. Casey, how has belonging to the FICPA helped you in your career, and what would you say to CPAs in industry about the value of your FICPA membership?
Like the primary and obvious advantage of being a member of the FICPA is to be able to avail myself of the continuing professional education programs that they organize, and I value those. There's a great variety of topics and a full agenda so that I can fit them into my calendar. That would be the primary point. I have over the years enjoyed also participating in the local chapter activities from time to time, and just in terms of attending. That's always helpful to be able to meet other people in the profession and colleagues. And then finally, I think it's a benefit just the fact that the organization exists, so that there's a method so that the voice of the profession is available in whether it's in the political arena or the regulatory arena. It's a value for it to be out there, and that's in our interest.
Are there things that the FICPA might do that would assist people in industry a little bit more?
Well, I've thought about that over the years. I wish that there was more a broader range of some classes, but I think I'm kind of a voice in the wilderness, because there's plenty of tax and audit, and I need to have those, and I go there, but there's a lighter agenda of things like cost control and cash flow planning and lending type things. Maybe broaden the spectrum of classes offered might be helpful, but not a big hot button.
Casey, is there a skill or knowledge set that you might want to add to your repertoire that would make you a better CPA in industry?
Mike, I think where I focus my attention on what I'd call real CPE or real learning is to be very focused on studying and paying attention to what's going on in the world around me, because we do live in a global and international market, and things that happen can affect our business, maybe not next week, but 6 months from now. And that's a steady focus to make sure that I'm not having blinders just particularly on what our particular business plan is, but pay attention to world events, just not political or military, but as I said, for example, alluded earlier, we pay attention to weather, we pay attention to natural disasters. Having an awareness of what's going on around the world is a real focus.
Casey, what do you think your biggest pet peeve is?
Well, in a business environment, and I get a kick out of this even laughing at myself. If you can imagine me sitting in my desk and I'm focused on a very precise, specific topic, say it's a banking matter, and someone will come to the door and say, do you have a moment? And I will say, yes, please come in. And they will just start talking, and they will be hitting about 3 or 4 topics. And I'm sitting there thinking about my banking matter. I have not changed from my topic to their topic because I don't know what their topic is yet, because they haven't gotten to the point. And a number of my colleagues and I joke around about that, and I have one person that when they come into my office, their first sentence is, the topic is, so that I can turn off my topic and then focus on theirs. So pet peeve is let's get on the same page or the same topic before we talk a long time.
What do you think your greatest joy is, Casey?
Mike, I enjoy life. I enjoy my business. I find it my business life fulfilling, and feel like I make a difference. I enjoy that. I'm very active in the community, in working with different organizations. I particularly enjoy this time of the year. This is a good time of the year for me. Hunting season opens, football season has started, the holidays are coming up, and then a historical reenactment in January. So I just enjoy life, and I think that's important. We all ought to enjoy what we do at work, and we ought to enjoy life.